Okay, cool. So the traffic was not fun, I'm guessing.
I was asleep.
Oh, okay.
Passenger princess.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I like to start from the beginning with everybody, and I'm curious myself, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in Inglewood, California, at a hospital that actually doesn't exist anymore. And I was born August 23rd, 2001, so I'm a 2000 baby.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that
I'm
makes
a Virgo.
you 23?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And who raised you growing up?
Mostly my mom. My dad was kind of here and there, but he's really the one that got me into music for real.
For sure. Excuse me. Is that like where your family's from? Your family's from Inglewood, or like how far back have you guys been there?
So I used to stay when I was like first born, kind of like Inglewood, Hawthorne. Then my parents split, and then I moved to Slauson and Overhill, and I've been there like my whole life. And even my mom, like her childhood house is like right down the street from our house. Like we're very close knit.
Okay, for sure. So, what was like? You said you were raised by your mom predominantly.
Yeah.
What's like the first things that you learned by just observing your mom growing up?
Ain't nobody gonna save you but you. You feel me? I see my mom do it all. And honestly, I think the thing I learned most from her was just like discipline, whatever it is. I've done like a lot of things. Like I do music now, but I've done school, like I've done different hobbies, from rugs to graphic art to sports, like whatever it is. And whatever I've done, like she's always been there to support me and always been there to tell me like, if you're gonna do it 100%. Even if you quit and you find out it's not for you while you're doing it, do it 100%. So just learning that, like that discipline and motivation behind whatever I do, and having like whatever I do represent me.
For sure. What's your earliest memory that you can remember?
Do you really want to hear that?
Yeah, I want to hear.
Okay, so my earliest memory, it's so funny. I think I remember this because I feel like it was like my first like time I ever experienced pain in my whole entire life. But I was in the car with my mom and my dad, and we were looking for a house for my mom. Like my parents were separating. And I was sitting on my mom's lap, and I have my hand out the window, and I'm looking at the house that I grew up in now. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know, I just start saying shit, baby shit, whatever. And it's getting cold, so my mom's like, oh, like, can you roll up the window? And my dad starts rolling up the window, and nobody knows that my fingers are in the window. So that's my first memory, is getting my fingers rolled up in the window while looking at, like, the house I grew up in.
That hurts.
I was probably like 9 months.
Wow.
Literally.
You're a little baby, you remember that?
Yeah, literally.
That's pretty early. So who introduced you to music? What do you remember first hearing?
If we're gonna be for real about like introductory to music and like when it started feeling like it was impactful for me, was actually my freshman year in high school. I hope A Boogie sees this one day, but he's really the person that got me into music. He's probably like the first melodic rapper like I've ever heard at that time. And I just thought like that type of music was really cool. So from there, I started like my music taste. I started expanding it. Shorty, K Camp, just like different artists who were like melodic and not just rappers or not just singers. And then from there, I was just like around a lot of my friends who were in the music scene, kind of when like that first wave was happening, kind of around from like when the first like good XXL came out. It was like 2018, 2019. And my best friend at the time was making music, and he was making like melodic shit. So like this shit is hard. So I'd be at the studio with him, whatever. And one day he sent me an open as a joke, like, oh, you want to do it? Like, go try it. So I'm chilling with my dad, and I'm like, I want to do this, like, and so I write it and I like perform it to him, and he's like, this is cool, but like you have no rhythm. So at that point, like, that was like the first time I started learning about counts and beats. I'm 23 now, it's probably 19. Yeah, so I was learning about counts, spaces, because my dad does music, but I never really got into it until my best friends like kind of initiated me into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, what was that like? They just said, hey, make music, you'd be good at it, or what? Why?
Well, For me as a person, personally, I like doing anything that's challenging. And, like, you don't just, like, wake up one day and know how to do music. Like, you really have to learn that shit. And a lot of people learn that shit whether they go to church with their families or their parents do it, or they just know at an early age or play an instrument. So the fact that I was kind of, like, up in age and, like, trying to learn something that was, like, completely different from anything I've ever done, it was, like, enticing. Like, this is a challenge. Like, I'm up for this. This is cool. And I feel like if I keep doing it, like, I could be good.
For sure.
Yeah.
So when did you, like, get in the studio and start recording?
My first studio session was probably that same year. So I was with my dad, and he had took me to, like, an engineer that he be going to. And it was cool, but it was, like, I knew it wasn't, like, my vibe. Like, it was, like, an older person. I'm just starting learning how to do music. I didn't really know how I wanted to sound. It was just someone pressing record and, like, telling me how to deliver things. Like, okay, cool. So that was my first session. But it was crazy because I have a lot of dreams. And I write, like, all of my, like, impactful dreams down. And my relationship with my dad throughout my life has kind of been, like, always tough. So, like, in high school, around, like, sophomore year, I had a dream about the setting of, like, being in a studio with my dad, but I hadn't done music at that point. So when I had the dream, I was kind of like, this is weird. Like, I just had a dream about being with my dad somewhere, like, not really knowing, like, the context of it. So when I did have my first studio session, like, that's when it clicked. Like, yeah, this is for me. Like, I've seen this before. Now it makes sense. I know where I am. Like, this feels right.
Got it. And so that was what, like 19?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being in my first session at 19.
Okay. And then, like, where did it go from there? How did you decide what to do? Just like, I'm going to make music? Did you start promoting it? What was the next steps?
So...
You were graduated high school, or?
Yeah, I was already out of high school, so I was in college.
Okay.
It just seemed cool. Like, I feel like my whole life I've always been, like, taking after my mom. Like, not to disclose my job, but I've always been in, like, education, like, with kids, and always, like, chasing a degree. So I've always been, like, stickler, disciplined, like, not really, like, in the moment. So after that first session and realizing what it felt like to be present in, like, the creative process and for it to be hard but also fun, like, I knew it was for me. So I kept wanting to do it. I probably did, like, 3 more sessions at that studio. And then I reached out to, like, some homies, and they connected me with this producer. He's not a producer anymore, but his name is Tay. And I worked with him for about, like, 2 years. I did all, like, my first 2 years of music with him. And it was fun. Like, when I first started doing music, I was doing music with everybody. Whoever I could get a session in with, whoever I could get a collaboration with, a feature, whatever I could learn from, however people were making music differently, doing different styles, like, I wanted to be there. So the first few years of music, it was really fun. Just being everywhere, not really having expectations, just trying to soak up as much knowledge as I could. So, I don't know, not to be like that, but, like, regardless if it was music or it was something else, like, the way I feel about certain things, like, once I'm in that mode, like, I'm going after 100% until, like, I'm over it.
So you would say that the first step in your mind was learning about the business?
Definitely.
Learning about, like, seeing how people can grow or whatnot. Like, who were you watching at the time, or who were you around to be able to observe?
I was actually, like, my first collaborative session was with my best friend. His name's Chasen, and another one of his friends, his name's Jiggy. So they were, like, writers, melodic, rappers, cool. I was there. But then I was also, I'm not sure if he goes by this anymore, but he's a IE artist. His name's K the Bandit. I did, like, 3 or 4 sessions with him, and it was really cool. Like, I really had a good time doing that. I collaborated a lot with my friend Chino Lingo. He's a Nigerian artist, so I dabbled in, like, Afro beats when I started. So anybody I could get close to or get my hands on, like, I was on it. I was just reaching out, like, hey, like, you make music, let's work. I was working with anybody at the time, like, literally anybody. But those are just a few that I remember when I was coming up, where I had impactful, like, sessions where I was challenged and I learned different things from those people.
For sure. You smoke weed?
Not anymore.
Okay. Why'd you stop?
I feel like we're getting deep. No, I stopped though because I just felt like personally for me, it just wasn't benefiting me at this time. I feel like me personally, like to smoke, like I'll smoke when I'm rich. Like I can't have anything like inhibiting me at any time where I'm not 100% focused or not 100% present. Like that's just where I feel like I'm at in my life, where like I need to be on top of everything, from my 9 to 5, from my hobbies, from my music career. I'm also like a gym girly, so I go to the gym, and I'm just super motivated with everything I do right now at this point in my life, and that's a lot of progress for me. To stay disciplined, to be mentally strong and mentally healthy. And it just wasn't my like thing right now. Right now I'm like 4.5 months sober.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my take on that. But I don't judge anybody who does it. And I get it, like what it is therapeutically. So
no, I think it's really important that you shared that, because you understand that might not be in the equation for what you're trying to build up to. So respect.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Did you grow up with siblings? Did you grow up with siblings?
Oh no, I'm the only child.
Oh, okay.
Spoiled. Yeah.
Can you talk about that experience? How do you think that has molded you?
Being younger, I didn't really take notice of it because I've always grown up by myself. But as I got older, kind of around like middle school and high school, seeing other people get game from their siblings, whether it was like relationships or school or just like being exposed to things earlier, I was a little bit jealous, like, damn, like I gotta, even music, I used to be so hot, like, you know, when you got a friend who got older siblings, like they on the hot shit and you're like, I have no idea, like, so I just used to, I noticed a lot, like, in middle school and high school, what it was like not having siblings. But it was also cool because I feel like it gave me, I don't know how it is with people who do have siblings, but me personally, I felt like, at least for my mom, like, we have an amazing relationship because we've put so much time into each other, and it's just us. I don't know how it is for siblings, and I don't want to say anybody's parents, like, you know, shared the love or whatever, but I feel like it just really impacted my relationship with my mom, just making us really close because we were all that we had. And it also made me like really independent, not having anybody to ask for anything or like not getting help maneuvering life. But as I got older, I did realize that community became important to me. Like even in music, having the team I do now, it's really important for me, and having that made me more grateful and understanding, like in a sibling manner. Like that's what my team feels like. That's what my friends feel like. So I am super grateful to have that experience, but I'm also super grateful to go home and there's only one of me.
Yeah, for sure. I feel you. Okay, so this is kind of a random question, but do you remember your first crush? I do. Yeah. You want to shout them out? You remember their name?
I don't want to shout them out. Actually, I'll shout them out.
Okay.
Like my first crush that felt like I was like doing something when I was young, I think his name was like, I don't know, he was like Black and Asian, so it was like Kazuo or something. But I'm shouting him out because he put me on to Odd Future when I was in middle school.
Oh, wow.
And I felt like that kind of impacted like me being like open-minded to like alternative music. Like when Tyler was first coming out and made all that weird shit and everybody was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was there listening to it with my crush like, oh, this is kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
So just part of like getting that like open-mindedness to different music genres. So I'll shout him out for that.
No, that's a cool experience.
Yeah.
You ever been in love?
I'm always in love.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think that's worth it? Because I feel like you have to make yourself vulnerable to do that.
I think it's worth it because the love, like, how other people love you really has nothing to do with you. So I never really look at it as, like, what's getting done to me has a reflection of anything of me as a person. Like, how people treat you and move in the world is just, like, a projection of their scope of life, their experience. So I I believe in love because, especially now, and even just with my journey with music, learning confidence, learning like accepting your flaws, accepting like no one has a perfect life, just all that acceptance of just like what is, to me personally and in my life, it feels like true love to me. So when it comes to other people, it's like I've loved myself through the most like shameful and like guiltful events and situations in my life. Like loving you and you fuck me over, like that's nothing. That's lightweight. Like I feel like I've experienced so much more heartbreak internally than I ever will with another person.
Have you always had that perspective, or you grew to have that perspective?
I think I grew to have that perspective. I think because of the love I received from my mother, and that relationship we have has impacted my view on how I should love other people a lot. And I feel like it just comes with maturity also. Like when you're young and you don't really like know yourself or know what you stand for, it's easy to get caught up in thinking like what's presented to you is what you're deserving of. And that's not always the case.
For sure. You have to love yourself first, right?
Definitely.
You think your mom taught you how to love yourself well?
I think she didn't teach me how to love myself. More recently, we have like better like mental health habits and things like that. But like growing up, like just the way she loved me made me aware of how I can be loved. And my mom, like, shout out to her, like she's like literally the best thing ever in the world. Like she supports, like she's literally my rock, my foundation. And when it comes to like, I used to get in trouble and shit, like I used to sneak out the house. Like that's the reason why we have an alarm system on our house, because I snuck out so much when I was younger. Like I used to do bad shit, and like she just be like, it's cool, we're just gonna talk about it. And like when it came to other people and like you do shit, like people ridicule you, you know, and like make you seem like the worst person ever for a fault. And like my mom never made me feel that way. So in terms of that, like with the self-love, like accepting myself and how I grow and like what I am presently and what I can be, like definitely, she definitely taught me like what I'm deserving of.
For sure. Do you have kids?
No.
You want kids?
When I'm rich.
Yeah. Finances first. That's how I feel. Also.
Kids are great though. I love kids. I actually work with kids. I think I've been working with kids since like I got out of high school. Like I absolutely love and adore kids. I love showing up for kids in the way that I wish someone showed up for me when I was younger. I'm a little old fashioned, and I feel like kids should be made out of love.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like rush into anything where like co-parenting is great. Cool. But like me personally, like this being my life and like running my life, like I want like my kids to have both their parents in their life and to have like a loving household for my kids. And right now, like I don't have enough energy to pour into something else that's like an individual.
Thank you for sharing. I think that's a really important perspective and narrative to for people, young people to see.
Please, somebody got to say.
Yeah, thank you. So if you did have kids, or
are you gonna cut this, or like are we
no,
just,
this is straight through. We're going.
I just want to say I'm very impressed by the question.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I appreciate
nice.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, if or when you do have kids or did have kids, what would be the most important lesson you want to teach them?
To just be individuals. Like I feel like a lot of times with like parenting, like parents make children feel like they owe them their life, or like I brought you into this world, I could take you out of it. Like
Right.
I want my kid to have like that level of respect with me, but I also want my kid to be able to just like live their life. Like I'm just here to guide you. I can't really control anything you can do. I'm just here for the advice, the love, the support. So what I want my kids to know is just kind of like, I want my kids to experience everything so they could have that discernment to make those choices of like what they truly believe in, whether that's religion, whether that's education, career, or just like what they believe in their heart for themselves. Like I'd want them to experience everything so they can really hone in on like what really feels right to them.
Beautifully said. I appreciate that. Where did your rap name come from? Your artist name?
So actually my name came from my best friend, the one who like sent me the open verse. So in school, like if you go to like private school or whatever, because I went to private school when I was younger, my last name begins with a C. I'm not gonna disclose that though. And whenever they like assign you iPads or like whatever the fuck, you have a number. So my number was always like 6 or 7, but mostly like when I got older, it was always 7. So I just felt like I resonated with 7. But when I was deciding like my rap name, I also resonated with Star. Like I felt like why not start where I think I want to end up at.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like a juggling in between that. Do I want to be 7? Do I want to be Star? My best friend was like, just do it both. Like, and I was like, no, like that's corny. Like he was like, bro, I don't know anyone named 7 Star. Just do it. And I was like, fuck it, cool. So that was the backstory behind my name.
So I know you said you didn't want to disclose your career, but did you go to school specifically for the career path that you're in?
So actually, I'll disclose my career in education because I feel like it's also important if other people can relate to it.
Yeah.
So I went to school straight out of high school. I was supposed to go for basketball. But I didn't want to commit to that for 4 years. I have commitment issues, so I didn't want to commit to that for 4 years. I wanted to live my life a little bit more. But I knew in high school I always loved writing. I always loved reading. So when I first started, I majored in English. It was very cool. I enjoyed the writing process, like very cool career path. But I was like, damn, like this is low-key getting a little too like college professor-y. Like I feel a little too like boxed in right now. So I took a little break during COVID, and then I started working in an after-school program with kids, and then from there I moved to being a special needs one-on-one, and then I'm currently like a preschool assistant for special needs kids.
Okay.
But I love working with kids, special needs kids, or general kids. So I changed my career path to child development. And even aside from my career, like when I have a kid, I also just want to like know like everything I can about like how to raise a kid and how to build that community with like the school they go to, and like you know, you can't control if your kids also have special needs too. So just learning how like everything about like children development to help me be a better mom, and also in my career because I like what I do aside from music.
My mom does the same thing.
Oh, that's cool. Does she like it?
Yeah, she loves it. She's always been a teacher, and she's been teaching special needs for I want to say maybe like going on 10 years, close to 10 years now.
Oh, that's amazing. People need more people that like care about
For
children.
sure. What was that your first job?
So actually my first job was, what was my first job? My first job was working at a shoe store. Full circle. I just shot a video that I'm about to drop next month at the same shoe store. That was my first job. Okay. Because I was locked in with the owner, so he let me use his space. But yeah, my first job was at a shoe store.
What's that called?
It's called Lay South Bay. Shout out JB. He's cool as shit. But yeah, it was real cool. Just like a little summer job. It was like, I don't know, I like fly shit. They had fly shit there. Like,
for sure.
They had events. At the time I was there, like, he was doing like a lot of stuff with Kaylin. So it was like cool to be in the mix.
You've always been into fashion?
Kind of. I've always been into like weird shit. I'm not going to say fashion because fashion makes it sound like, you know, but like I've always like I'll be the girl that wears the pink jeans, like what the fuck. But like making it cool, like I feel like my best friend influenced that a lot. She's a stylist, and she really taught me like how to dress, how I feel, and how I see myself presented as, like, while also making it cool. I was dressing like a little weirdo when I was younger, not gonna lie.
I see you're always rocking like some green. Is that like your favorite color? Is there like a
my favorite color is actually pink.
Okay.
But I am a brand marketing all around artist. So this is the color of like my branding that goes with like my artistry. I got inspired from fuck me if I butcher his name, but his name is like Amine. You know who that is? And he did like the whole yellow banana thing.
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about how I wanted to push my recent tape, I wanted to have something that was gonna make me stand out. So the team just like agreed on a color, and I felt like I just really resonated with the green. Like I feel like it's a pretty like natural, neutral color. I'm really like earthbound, so I feel like I resonated with it, and just also like with the concept of like abundance and wealth, and green is like also associated with like the heart chakra, and I feel like I'm really emotional, so it was just like a lot of things I just resonated with the color and tried to just incorporate it as much as I could in my branding, making it look cool.
For sure.
How long can I wear the color for it wears out, you know?
I think you're doing a great job making it look cool. What you have a manager?
Define manager.
I don't know. You define it.
Well, me, like, when I think of manager, like...
You said you got with the team about the...
So, my team is just, like, a group of my friends who just fuck with me so hard.
Okay.
And, like, I say he's my manager, like, my day-to-day. He keeps me on my toes, like, mentally. Like, we go to the gym together. Like, we have a relationship outside of music that makes it easier, where it's like, I need you to come with me to this. I need you to come with me to this. We got to go talk to this and this. Like, oh, I need your support here and there. Like, yeah, I feel like I have an everyday manager. Shout out to Amari. But, like... I want to, as my brand grows, get like a road manager that starts doing things for like bookings and shows where I don't have to personally handle it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I have a day-to-day manager, but my team is like my producer that fucks with me, some engineers that fuck with me, my best friend who's a stylist that does my shit for my videos, like some videographers that fuck with me. Like, I'm real loyal to the soil. Like, I got 2 videographers. Like, I got 1 photographer. I got 1 producer, 2 engineers. Like, and I stayed loyal. Like, I have 1 hairstylist, 1 nail tech, like, that does everything for me when it comes to this shit, so. Yeah, that's my little team.
That's intentional to keep your team small?
It's not intentional, but it's just easier. I feel like a team has to really like understand and connect with you on some type of interpersonal level. And I feel like just like that loyalty of like you're bringing money to one person consistently. You're doing things outside of the career with one person consistently. Like, they know you. So when it comes to like talking about real shit, when it comes to talking about money, when it comes to talking about appointments or being on time, or just when you need to like check somebody, like, it's not weird.
Yeah.
So I guess along the terms of like that, because I do have a manager, but like personally, like me, like I do everything myself. I just have a lot of people that help me in the foundation and support me where I don't feel like I'm spread thin. But yeah, so I try and keep it very close knit, because then shit just gets out of hand.
For sure. Who are your favorite producers, engineers to work with?
My favorite producer is Walt Mensa. He's the best. He's like the only producer I work with. The other producer I worked with, he stopped being a producer. He started a family, which is dope. But he was my other favorite producer. I don't know, like, I hate to say, like, I don't really be in the mix of like that. Like, I have a producer that work with me, cool. Like, we sit there and we make the beats that I want. So, but I know there's a lot of producers going crazy in LA right now. So like, no shade to them. But like me personally, like, I have my producer. We do what works. Like, we make shit that we like and that we want to hear.
How'd you find that producer?
I found him through him. So funny thing, me and my best friend, we were like going on this, like, I don't want to call it a 2-man, but it was like we were just hanging out, and it was 2 boys and 2 girls. And that's how I met my manager, and he was like, what, I gotta introduce you to my boy, da 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 da. And I'm linking with my manager, and he's just like, gotta introduce you to my boy, da 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 da. So that goes on for like 2 or 3 times. And then at Juneteenth, I finally meet him. So it's cool. So we link up. I'm letting him know what I'm trying to do, this, and that. And then from there, me and my producer, Walter, like, we just, like, build that relationship, just going towards, like, what we both see for ourselves individually and what we see for ourselves together as brands.
Yeah, that's important. You have a good relationship.
With
What?
like him or like all like everyone on my team.
Well, with him.
Yeah.
And I mean, you spoke about like working with the same people. You build a rapport. I think also they're gonna want to see you win because that means that they win.
Exactly.
So I think there's a lot of value in that for sure.
Yeah, I have a good relationship with him. Like, I have a good relationship with everyone on my team, and like, ask anyone on my team. Like, I'm such a bitch. Like, I argue all the time. I'm loud. I'm nitpicky. Like, but it's cool for me to be myself because that's how I am. I'm sensitive about like my art.
Yeah.
So I get real like passionate about it. And sometimes I'll yell at them. Sometimes I'll check them and be like, yeah, like, we are not on time today, or why do I have to keep us on track today? Like, we need to get more organized and shit like that. And I say it in a bitchy manner, and they're just like, cool, because they know me.
Yeah.
So that's also plays into the part of like why I keep close people, because I go up on a random person like that's trying to be my manager, my producer, and I'm like, nigga, fix that shit. They're gonna be like,
yeah,
you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do have a good relationship with them.
Well, it sounds like you have a boss mentality, and people understand that. So
Yeah.
You want what you want.
Exactly.
What about artists? Any artists that you like to work with?
Recently I've worked with In Too Deep. They're fire. They're a duo. I think it was really cool to get mixy with them. They're also melodic. One of them's a rapper, so that was cool. Rob too, I work with him a lot. He also is an engineer, so he also like helps incorporate what he does with his rapping, with like my melodic stuff to give me like new styles. Mo Thorough, he helps me a lot just with like intention behind the writing and performance. Who else? That's pretty much it. I'm very close knit with the people that I work with. I have a lot of admiration for a lot of artists that are working right now. I feel like a lot of artists in LA right now are doing great things and getting great exposure, especially following the Kendrick Lamar shit.
Yeah. You like that album?
I did.
Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I think it's a really good album.
Exactly. We're not haters.
Who do you listen to on the daily?
I feel like that changes. When I go work out, I always listen to Lotto and Anicia. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to their album for like a year straight, and I seen Lotto in concert, so that was like great. She's an amazing performer, women speaking. But recently, I've been listening to Alexa Gates. I think she's really raw. She's really different. She's cool. I also listen to Billie Eilish, Shorty, Rex Life Raj. I just like people who got their own shit going for real. Like, those are my favorite artists. And the more I find out about them, like, the more I listen to those type of artists. I listen to artists who usually, not saying that they don't fit a genre, but I like listening to artists who truly are artists. Like, they could be a rapper, but they're rapping on 10 different type of beats. They're not just rapping on West Coast shit or Detroit shit, or they're not just like a singer. Like, I like stepping into artists' world where they're rapping, they're singing, they're doing Afro beats, they're doing alternative pop. Like, I feel like that helps me really shape my sound and my perspective when I make music.
Definitely. What's your creative process like?
And like making a song?
Yeah, like you write your lyrics out, you punch it in the studio.
It depends, to be honest. I'm not a freestyler. I will be, but right now I'm not a freestyler. But usually in the studio, how it goes, like, I'll just lay down like melodies. It's easy for me to just make a melody for the whole song. Once that's done, punch in all the words to it.
For sure.
Write it down, whatever. If I have a beat that sounds like it has to be like thought-provoking, my producer will send it to me and I'll write to it for like a few days. Yeah, it really depends. If I'm in the studio with other people, it's obviously like on the spot punching in, which is cool. It's whatever the vibe is for that day, truly. I feel like the creative process is always dependent on like everybody's energy in the room. So,
you ever try to make your own beats?
no. I mean, I feel like I could if I really wanted to learn, but if I like, since I know I probably wouldn't put my 100% behind it right now, like I'm not gonna try and like dibble and dabble and stretch myself then, because I have a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
But to the point where it's like I can make music my full time everything. Like yeah, fuck yeah, I dibble and dabble into making beats. I help my producer make beats, like the shit that
Right.
I want to do. I'll tell him like, oh, I want to hear this. I like this instrument. I like this vocal. Get this sample. But like the whole like niggas go to school for that shit. I didn't go.
Yeah.
So
It seems like it takes a lot of practice to get good at it.
10,000 hours for everything.
Yeah. So let's say I'm a beginner. Let's say I'm 18. I just got out of high school. I want to make music. What do I do?
Do that shit.
Yeah.
Just wake up one day and do that shit.
How?
Like
What do I do?
I would just say like at least how I started, which I found was kind of like easier for me. Like you just gotta like look up beats on YouTube and write to that shit.
Yeah.
See if you can even write. See like I know a lot of people like they'll search like how to do this or like how to do that or like how to write a song and all of that. The knowledge is cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like really finding and developing your sound comes from not knowing anything, because you're literally figuring it out. This are your like fresh thoughts. This is your creative process. This is your mountains you're climbing. Like me, I'm a super like no shortcut person. Not saying that I don't like the help, but I feel like a lot of it needs to be you. Like if you honestly don't want to do it, don't do it. Like, because this is not a shit where you could just pick up and put down.
Yeah. Make sure you have a passion for what you're doing or a purpose behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you think most artists can improve?
Intention. I just started improving on that, honestly. Because when I first started, like, it was more of an outlet for me. It was just something cool to do that felt expressive as a creative. But honestly, it's the intentionalness. Like, shout out to my producer, Walter, that I work with now, because he helped me see this as a business. Like, artists have to start seeing themselves as, like, brands. You're not just out here just making music. That's cool, but, like, the day and time we're in, like, if you can afford to just be an artist, cool. But, like, coming from, like, nothing, trying to be something, like, you can't afford that. You have to think about your social media. You can't be out here crashing out. You can't be out here, like, you can be out here writing anything. But, like, having, like, at least an intention when I go in the studio, I want to make a song today about this. Or I want to try something different. Like, knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're not good at, and pulling on both of those, like emphasizing what you're good at and what you're not good at, working on that behind the scenes after the studio sessions, being intentional about like where you want to go. Some people just do it and don't know, do they want a Grammy? Do they want to just be a writer for people for songs? Do they want to be a performer? Like honing in on all of that is really important. And even like even the green, like that was intentional for me to put into my branding. You have to think about like, yeah, people make money off streams and tours, but what about all the other shit? Endorsements, like people paying you to market certain things or maybe asking you to model. Like people take all that into account with how you represent yourself. Whether it's your color, how you talk on social media, literally your aesthetic feed, what you're saying on your Twitter, who you're associating yourself with, like everything about this shit is intentional if you want to be great. And I think a lot of that is what's missing because it looks so easy to do nowadays.
Right. Where do you think, for you personally, you could improve?
I guess because I've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years, it comes to a point of like, and that's not even really long for real, but for me, it's like still pushing myself to be uncomfortable. Like there's still things I'm not good at. Like how I said, I'm not a freestyler, but that's something that I need to not be afraid to work at and put in the time to do that. For me, regarding my music career, what I just want to be better at, 2 things this year is just like writing way more and setting aside time for that. Sometimes I feel like I'm so busy that I lose track that I'm also an artist. And also just getting like more media exposure and like being outside. Like I'm a real private person. Like, yeah, I make it look good on social media, but I really don't like that shit. But it's part of the job. So just like embracing that social factor. I was just talking about this with my mom. Like I felt like this year, now I'm aware of it. I was like 2 scenarios where I felt like I had to connect and I didn't really speak on it. So just being like even more determined about what I want and the connections that I can make happen by just being like more social and like in people's faces and like being bold about what I really do want out of this shit and making like every connection purposeful.
For sure. You think networking is important?
It's so important, dude. Like, no shade, but just my personal opinion. Like, a lot of people got this shit with no work, just by knowing people. They was in the studio with someone that's putting in that work around their team, and they pitched an idea that may have hit it off, and now they got a song that they just have writer credits on. No shade to that at all. Like, fuck, I wish I had that opportunity. But it's like, it's really about hard work. Definitely beats all that shit, definitely. But just in the time that we're in right now, like networking and just who you know and making those good connections and maintaining those stable connections will really take you to the top.
Definitely. What's the biggest lesson you've learned being in the music industry?
You can't fake this shit. You can't fake none of this shit. People who think critically on a daily basis can definitely see through this shit. I think the biggest like challenge for me through this, and even now making new music that I'm working on right now, being more present, relatable, and raw about what I'm actually personally experiencing and going through, and not just trying to make a banger or a hit or something that people can dance to. Like, that's the music that lasts, is the music where you're just so authentic. I think artists like Doechii does that really well. Like, that was an eye-opener, hearing her most recent album and how raw she was on it. And when you think about making a song, you're like, chorus, verse, chorus, topic, banger. But it's like, nah, like, what are you actually feeling? What are you actually going through? What message are you actually trying to get across to people? How can this song impact someone and stay with them? So just learning, my biggest lesson is just learning how to be authentic in my music. And with that, it's really honestly helped me be more authentic as a person in just real life.
You think storytelling in music is important?
Definitely. I definitely think it is. I feel like the good music is storytelling. Like, people who are listening want to step inside of your world. And if you're even fabricating, dimming, or making your world seem less of what it is, like, it won't really hit the same.
For sure. You have any hobbies that the fans might not be aware of?
I post all my hobbies, honestly, because I like making money off my hobbies. But I do rug making, I do graphic art, I paint on canvases, I am a runner, I am a gym girly, and yeah, I like being with kids.
Cool. You're into art kind of in general?
Yeah.
For sure. Have you always been?
So I got into art around 9th grade and freshman year. I really had no exposure to the creative world before that, and I think that's why I like to try and do so many things and challenge myself, especially when it comes to music, because I felt like prior to 9th grade, I was kind of like cut off from the creative world. Not that like I couldn't do it, but like I didn't have any exposure to it or know anybody who did things like that. So I felt like I'm just learning about the creative world. Like, it's probably been from 16 to 23 has been like the amount of time I've been like socially aware of like the creative industry. So I like to try anything and everything like that's creative.
You have any advice for the youth? Probably have some young fans that are into the same things. want to be involved in art?
Get off the fucking phones, man. I hate to sound like an OG, but like, it's the fucking phones, dude. Like, I feel like, also because I've gone through it, like, trying to make myself aware, but just like overconsumption is just like trash for the creative system. Like, you're seeing people do things and you're like, damn, should I be doing that? Or like, what am I not doing? Or you just see so much overconsumption of like people doing things a certain way, and you only think like it's one way to do things. Like, you really just have to experience this life shit like through your own lens and make that like as unaffected by everybody's else's opinions as much as possible. Like, I feel like that's what really drives the creative process, is experiencing your life as it's yours, being present in your life as it's yours, and experiencing without someone telling you what's right or what's wrong or what they would do. Like, I'm very like, I don't ask for advice. Like, I don't care what you think. Like, I'm not here for what everybody else is thinking, because that's your life. And I feel like I've developed that recently, and I feel like it just helps a lot being a creative when all you literally see is you. How can you be better than the day before? How can you do something different? So just advice to the youth is just like, be so individual minded. There's nothing wrong with getting inspired by different people, or seeing other things that people do is cool, or participating, or any of that. Community is very important, but just don't be like over consumed by what everybody else is doing. It really is the phones. That's my advice. Fuck the phones.
It's a lot.
It is.
What's your biggest goal? What do you want to accomplish in life?
In life, or like regarding to music?
Just overall.
In life, like, I want to be so set in myself that like I never question any decision that I make. Like, that's just how, like, in my body and present and absorbing all the knowledge that I've learned in my life, where I'm just living. Like, I know how my body feels about the things that I'm doing, and I'm just doing them. And I get into a flow, and I know that we all go through different types of flows in our life, ups and downs, consistency, whatever. But I just really want to have the strongest consistent flow. Like, that's my goal in life, to never have an off day, but like, I don't know, shit is limitless. Like, this is my first year like not being depressed, like not being on meds, and I never imagined that. So it's like, for me personally, it's just being in consistent flow and having like a neutral mindset. For music though, tour.
That'd be cool.
I like, that's like my top thing, is like doing tour, like overseas. Like, whenever I check like my metrics on like Apple Music or like Spotify or whatever, I always see like a random handful of like plays in like Germany and like London and Amsterdam and Spain, and it's like, fuck, like, that's what I want, that's what I'm going for. Like, I want to go over there and experience. Like, Drake's such an amazing artist because he culturally appropriates but he goes and experiences and figures out how people make different types of music. He's not confined to one genre. So I feel like starting with tour and being able to like experience like those different locations and those different cultures, like, I really want to like encompass that in like my music. So yeah, tour.
For sure. Are you interested in like other types of businesses outside of music?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, would you ever, build another business besides your own personal music brand?
I think when everyone in my family is taken care of so far down the ass of generations, like 3 generations down the line, and I can say that I did that. Even before that was kind of selfish, but I would want to do like nonprofits for like just like creative centers for like the youth, and I would make them like super like apparent, like how McDonald's are. Like, I feel like if you name like a music academy, you could probably name like 3. Well, I can name like 3 that are close in my area, but like I just want to make like creative thought and creative expression more accessible for the youth without them having to do it on their own, or without them having to struggle if they don't have the resources. Like, I want to provide resources, because you can make 10 Michael Jacksons if you start the kid at 5 and give them everything they need.
Yeah. That is actually my biggest business plan. I wrote that business plan out like in high school. So that's my ultimate goal, is to do that.
That's so cool. See, we're already aligned.
You kind of spoke about it earlier. Have you ever been depressed?
Yeah, I mean, like, who hasn't, dude?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, something I learned while climbing out of depression is, like, not assigning that to your identity. Like, when I used to be depressed, I used to be like, yeah, bro, I'm depressed. Like, I'm anxious. Like, making that a part of my identity. And yes, like, people have chemical imbalances and things that they can't control. Like, yeah, and that's part of their everyday struggle. But at least for me, mentally, personally, like, I stopped attaching that to my identity and just, like, started seeing it as, like, feelings that I'm going through, like, phases. Shit doesn't last forever. But yeah, I feel like it happened a lot when I feel like depression can occur, like, when you don't have a strong sense of self, and a strong sense of worth, and a strong support system.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time when I was going through those things and feeling those things, and I think that's also what contributed to me being sober. Like, when I look at the worst parts of my life, I was high.
For sure.
So it's like, and having, like, access to substance abuse, like, I hate to be the one, but I'm going to be the one to say it because of my experience. Like, everybody thinks it's cool to do it because it helps. It does. It's therapeutic. But, like, in the long run, if you ever have to use something every day, you're low-key abusing it. Like, you're low-key addicted. Like, and it has long-term, everything has a long-term effect. What you eat, what substances you use. So it's like, all that plays a part when you think about if you're happy. You can't just be like, oh, I'm not happy because I'm in a toxic relationship, or, oh, I'm not happy because I don't have enough money. No, it's never just that. It's so many other things. And sometimes depression is sitting down and realizing everything that's making you depressed, you had a hand in it.
Mm-hmm. Were you on medication for depression?
I was on medication for depression and anxiety.
Okay. And how old were you when you started doing that?
I think I was 19, 20, and I was on them for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm 23. It's like my first year, like, not having to have anything to cope or be mentally strong.
Did you have to kind of, like, experiment with different prescriptions to find what worked for you?
Oh, I, not gonna lie, like, so down bad, I was like, give me whatever. Yeah. Like, I was gonna take whatever. I was literally on 4 different, like, for depression, for anxiety attacks, for, like, it was just a lot. For things combating the side effects of the depression medicine that the anxiety is causing, like, it was just so much. But I feel like it worked at the time. But I also feel like, me personally, like, just being at this point in my life, whenever I was high, I could never have, like, clarity on, like, what was really going on. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I feel like it was working. But, yeah, I also feel like the weed was working. Yeah. So it was, like, from the weed and all the meds, like, yeah, I was able to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But it was, like, I never wanted to be dependent on it. Yeah. So when I stopped, I wasn't supposed to stop. Yeah. But I was like, dog, like, I can't live my life on meds, bro. Like, I need to figure this shit out the regular way. Not saying anything wrong with meds. To each their own. But just my personal experience and how I felt about it, I didn't want to be dependent on medication for a mood stabilizer.
Did you stop taking the meds and stop smoking weed at the same time?
No. I just stopped it. Like, I also think I stopped taking the meds because it made it so real for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm taking medication. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, so it was kind of like that facing the reality check. Like, like, oh my gosh. Like, will I be able to live my life ever without meds? Yeah. So I think that was more so of it. I stopped smoking these last 4 months, but I've also had like a lot of periods where I tried to stop. And I think that's why I'm so headstrong on it now, because I've been through, like, for me personally, my experience with marijuana, it's kind of like traumatic. Like, I felt like I could never get away from it. That's why I'm trying to stand so strong on it now, because I went 5 months, 6 months before without smoking, and just smoked on the 7th month, and like the emotional relapses started again. So it's just kind of like, the smoking thing didn't really have anything to do with like my emotions and whatever. It had more to do with like my clarity of mind and just like discipline for myself. Like, bro, you could go without it.
For sure. You have a favorite movie, favorite TV show?
I do like all the Matrix movies. TV shows, I don't know, I'm kind of a weirdo, so I literally like anything that's like sci-fi, fantasy, truly. Like, that shit's cool to me. But I also like, I didn't start watching like TV till like, I don't know, like 19, 20, like for real, like getting into shows and shit. Like, before that, I would just watch whatever was on cable, and that was just background noise. So I'm a little bit weird about like when people ask me about like movies and shit. Like, I do not remember like watching shit. Younger.
You were just thinking about something else?
Yeah, thinking about something else, or just like I was with my mom, but I was raised by my great aunt for a majority of my years until high school. So she was very like old fashioned. So I was forced to do like imaginary play and like play outside. Like, I didn't really have like electronics.
I mean, that's good though.
Yeah. I'm super grateful for it though. That I'm not an iPad baby.
For sure. You think saving money is important?
These are like really like, these are good questions. These are questions that matter.
I appreciate it.
I feel like financial literacy matters. That's important.
Yeah.
Cause I was just talking about this the other day. Like, I don't like to eat like carbs or like fried food or like anything like that. But I was craving some Wingstop bad a few days ago, and the shit was like $50 on Uber Eats, and I was like, damn, like I need to be logical about this $50 I'm about to spend. But at the same time, because I'm spiritual, like, it's also like this mindset thing where it's like, when you have like people who are rich, they don't worry about that shit. So I try and have like a middle ground of like, money comes all the time. Like, you spend it, you shouldn't be too attached to spending it, losing it, not having it. Like, it just is what it is. But I also do like encourage and think it's important to be aware of your fucking like reality. Like, if you're super down bad, I don't think you should, spend. But financial literacy is important, and I think like having a savings account, having a retirement plan, having life insurance, like, as like Black people and colored people who don't have access to that information, like, knowing that like life insurance is like a bag or like knowing how to have a credit card and using it, and how to get a loan to get a house after you build up your credit. Like, a lot of people just have to figure that shit out with no help. So I believe like financial literacy is important, and I think saving like goes into that. I feel like save as you feel fit to your situation.
For sure. I mean, you never know, emergencies happen.
True.
It's something I could get better at too, for sure. Do you believe in God?
You're asking me shit that like I could get canceled for.
I mean, you don't have to answer.
No, I'm answering. I'm not a bitch. My personal experience with like God and religion and everything, which is I keep saying my personal experience, so whenever you put this out, the audience doesn't get offended.
People still might.
I don't give a fuck. You're talking to a person who's got baptized like 3 times as 3 different religions. Going back to that question when you asked me about like my kids and what I think they should do, I think they should experience. Because I've also went through that, like experiencing like what feels right to you. Like, people say what you should believe in, And when a big number of people say this is what we should all believe in, and it's passed down generations after generations after generations, we're like, fuck it, we should just believe in it. But I believe in God, but more so as like a divine being, not a he or a she or this thing that's gonna send you to hell if you fuck up. Like, that's really weird. If you really believed in God, you know that he wouldn't punish you for how he made you. So I think like the perspective on God, the God I believe in, is a being that orchestrates all this shit and made all this shit and has gone through all this shit to be what it is.
You think this being is loving?
Of course. I feel like love was like contradictory, but whichever came first, love or light, feel like that was the first energy like to be made in the world.
It's a very powerful energy.
Definitely. So
yeah, people do crazy stuff when they're in love.
that's perspective, but I'll let you have it.
What are you looking forward to in the future?
Character development. I tell people about this a lot because I'm so spiritual and I'm so intuitive, and I have a lot of dreams where I'm very present in them. Like, I'm very confident that this is my last lifetime. I feel very old. So I'm just looking forward to, like, after this, I could just be like a nebula or something cool. But I'm looking forward to just, I'm excited for the person who I'm going to be because I can already feel, like, aspects of that person in me now. So it's corny, but I'm excited to be a mom.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens, I'm excited to have a family. Like, I'm looking forward to, like, taking my family out of struggle. Like, we're not poor, but like, I don't want my family to ever have to think about how we're going to make something work. I'm looking forward to having a college degree. Like, I'm looking forward to being healthy and sober when I'm older. Like, I'm looking forward to impacting a lot of generations with my art, whether it's music or painting or even just speaking on things like this. Like, I'm just looking forward to movement with my life and how that correlates with everything and everyone else around me. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out.
Are you still in school right now?
Yes. I am, and fuck, stay in school, kids, if you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still in school. Like, it's more so like, I really don't give a fuck about that shit, but it's more so about like with weed, like, I could just do it. Like, why don't I just do it?
Yeah.
So I'm doing it.
If you could do it, the time's going to pass anyways, and
Exactly.
you have a degree.
Exactly.
Well, that's all I got. Anything else you want to leave them with? Any upcoming music or anything?
Plan is to have a Valentine's Day single or
Okay,
EP,
cool.
so on the look for that. And of course, another summer pack in the summer. Definitely more events to come. Music video coming out in a few weeks. And just really grateful for this opportunity to speak to you and everyone who listens to this. And I hope that for my new music, that anyone that listens to it, they can also see themselves in it and they feel like they're not alone in whatever situation that they're feeling.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate you. That's a wrap. That's it.
Yay.
Good job.
Thank you.